but I am absolutely amazed at the number of clamps we've talked about, the number of different applications. And here we are in the third segment, and we've got all these other clamps to still talk about, and we're not even scratching the surface for the kind of clamps that Bessie carries.
That's true. That's true. I mean, we could run a 24-hour show for 3 days straight.
Well, maybe. Oh, come on, that's a long time.
Well, you see how he talks?
No, but really,
these clamp guys, what is it with them? You know, it's this guy and Danny. You know, you got to just keep reeling them in. You know.
Exactly.
You guys really get excited about what you sell.
I do. I love what I do. I really love the clamps. I mean, I've been with this company 5 years, and I still learn all these applications. I have people come up to me at trade shows trying to describe this weird clamping application that I've never run across in 5 years. I mean, it's amazing. It really is.
Great.
But so what we're going to show here today is some of the other things that, from your common applications to applications that maybe you've struggled with in the past. One of the simplest applications that we have is either 45-degree angle. Okay, and what we're showing here, this is our 90-degree corner clamp.
Let me get a picture on that.
Is there a 90-degree corner clamp? Okay, what's nice about this is this clamp also pivots in 2 directions. So you can do a thin piece on one side, a thick piece on the other if you had to. Generally, most people use it for 45-degree angles or 90-degree angles. The thing you have to understand with this type of clamp is this is what we call a fixture clamp. So this really doesn't this will hold your pieces exactly where you leave them. It will not necessarily draw in the joint. Okay, it's a fixture clamp.
Oh, okay.
Now, with this particular clamp style, we also can use these same clamps over here. You'll see these little toggle clamps. What they do is they slip in the back here to allow you to fasten it to your bench so that it's not moving around on you.
Okay.
But if you're doing, you can do all types of things with this particular clamp. Anything that's going to be 90 degrees. So you can do a T. It's generally used on anything from window frames, picture frames, cabinet carcasses, everything. Okay, it allows you to hold it at 90 degrees while you still fasten along the back end.
Okay.
Now this is a bigger version of that. This one only has a 2-inch capacity on either side. This one has a 4-inch capacity. And again, this head pivots as well, so you could literally have a thinner piece on this side and a thicker piece on that side and still get your 90 degrees corner. This one over here is probably the most interesting and probably the most expensive. Whoops, what we're showing here, now I just blew the whole demonstration because I pulled these out. But what we're showing here is if you've got something that's other than 45 degrees or 90 degrees, how are you going to do that? Well, there's a couple different ways to do it, but with this particular application, clamp, what we're showing here is a 60 degree angle, correct, Ken?
Right. 230s?
Yeah.
Which are 230s. Okay. So what we're doing is, and I know you probably can't really see this on camera, but we're actually clamping. Your cuts will probably be a little straighter than ours. I mean, I don't claim to be a woodworker, just a clamp guy. So, but what we're doing here is
really made these cuts, guys.
You know, with all the tools we sell, you should see some of the junk we have around here.
Yeah. Well, we got to hook up this nice Lobo saw and get it working and start using it on the set.
It ain't better than what I was using.
The big difference with this, again, it allows you to do multiple angles with it, anywhere from 45 to 120 degree angles. But it also, these pads put pressure on and they actually pull the joint together.
Okay.
Okay, and this is our GS11, what we call a miter clamp.
All right.
So,
you know, it sounds like a foolish thing, but you guys have even taken into account ways to hold all of their clamps up on the wall. I notice you've got this one on here, on this clamp. There's a little hole up on top.
Yep.
You know, I tell you, with all the clamps that there are, it's a nuisance, the ones that you can't hang up anywhere.
That's right.
They just don't hang.
That's right. Even on the K-bodies, you'll notice, I didn't point out, let me see if you can, on the end of the K-body here, you're going to have a hole there. So you simply drive a nail or a peg in there, now you get a way to hang your clamps.
That's nice.
I know people have been asking that a lot, is that we have a method to store our clamps.
I didn't even realize that when we made these racks.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways to do it. In fact, your viewers out there, if anybody's got any great ideas, please, for storing our clamps.
Another contest, folks.
Oh, not a bad idea.
We'll give you a free clamp if you come up with a new idea.
Yeah.
This one I really like. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, this is relatively new for us. This is what this clamp actually comes from the welding side of the family because it's all steel. And you'll notice on the all steel family, we don't necessarily use serrations on the rail because there's much greater pressures involved with metal than there is with wood. That's why the wood had the serrations. But anyway, what this is called a power clamp. Now what we do is we have an aluminum handle instead of a wooden handle, and we have a 15/16 nut on the end. We also have a stop collar here. And what's nice about this is if you're trying to do any bending and generally curved staircases and things of that nature, obviously we're not going to build a staircase here, but to give you an example of what we're showing here, is you simply clamp up the tool.
This would be I don't know if you guys really have a handle on what this is for, but I realized it shortly after Tom started talking about it. But I saw a documentary on building staircases.
A documentary?
A documentary, right, on building staircases. And what they were doing was taking thin strips of plywood, and they were bending them against, basically making a frame against the wall.
Exactly. You can basically stud it out, and then you laminate your pieces in as you go.
Right. And they were using all hand clamps. And you could see, I mean, they were like, all day working with these hand clamps. So this is kind of neat. So pay close attention to this. This is pretty cool.
Absolutely. They'll never see it on camera, but you see certain applications when they're bending, they're literally using clamps every few inches.
Right.
And they double them up so that one reaches its maximum run on the threads. They put another one beside it, and then they can continue their curve.
Okay, so let's show that application here.
Okay, this particular one here, we've got, I don't know if it's a good angle to see it, but we're going to run it in with a cordless drill. Okay, because this way you don't have to use your wrist, and you can run it right in there. And then if you reach the maximum depth on the screw, you simply take another one over here if you need to get it further. Now this one we're starting with the fresh run on the screw. Okay, and then we're going to run this one, and then this one will loosen up. So,
and
we continue to do that.
But that's all right.
This is why it's called the power clamp.
Yes.
You have to be very careful with it. But,
all right. Well, you get the idea, folks.
Yes.
But
now,
it's nice not to have to crank this.
So what sizes do these come in?
This is actually a 16-inch opening. You can get 1,800 pounds of pressure out of this. And it's very easy to do so. As you notice, we just crack the wood with very little effort.
Right.
Of course, it probably has something to do with this wonderful Festool drill.
Absolutely.
But that's another show, folks.
That's right. We already did that show.
That's right.
So that's the staircase clamp or the power clamp as this come to be known.
All right.
A couple other things, difficult applications or applications you may run into is, excuse me. We've got our strap clamp. And our strap clamp is a really neat, unique clamp, and there's another one around here somewhere. There it is. You just took it. Okay. What's nice about the strap clamp is it allows you to do several different types of angles, because we have these clips here which go from 60 degrees to 180 degrees, or they move 180 degrees.
Okay.
So you can actually do inside or outside rounds with these, but you don't do too many inside rounds with a strap clamp.
Oh.
What we're showing here, sorry, the place falling apart.
It's okay.
We're actually showing this particular application using the strap clamp without any clips. Okay. Now we could use, you get 4 clips with the strap. Okay, and if you really want to put pressure directly on the joints, you can actually use these clips all the way around. You do sell extra clips.
That actually drives the two pieces together then?
Yes.
When you do this?
Yes. Well, it'll draw it together the way it is now.
If your joints are good, you're going to have the same effect here.
Right. But see, the beauty of this particular clamp, there's some hidden attributes about this clamp. Number one is we keep the strap. We have this self-winding strap here, strap system, that you actually wind up. If I could show that, hold that right there. See, this allows you to wind up the strap, to keep all the excess strap out of the way so that it's not in your way, you're not fooling with that strap. The other beauty of it is, and I don't know if I can see this, but as you tighten this down, okay, we're actually pulling the strap from both directions. Okay?
All right.
So we don't have a static end here. We're actually pulling it. So when we wrap this around our project, we're actually pulling it around evenly on both sides.
Okay.
The other nice thing is we have this buckle here, so you can take this off and disconnect this strap and literally wrap it around something. Maybe this was longer, you couldn't reach the top. You simply wrap it around, you tie it back together. Okay, if you have a project...
Those are like those buckles on the plastic
exactly right.
Plastic straps.
Exactly right. Now you've got 23 feet of strap here. Okay, that's an awful lot of strap. If one's not long enough, just do the buckle, put two together, and you've got 46 feet of strap. So again,
do you get much stretch out of this at all?
It's got 1,100 pounds of tensile strength. I mean, that's almost the equivalent of a seat belt. Again, if glue gets on this, you simply just wait till it dries. It flicks right off. Okay. So again, you can use this for picture framing and things like that. If you are fastening your picture frames from the ends, it does pose a little bit of a problem because the strap is 1 inch wide. So if you're fastening from across the joint, well, then that's one thing. If you do have to fasten from the ends, I suggest you go back to the K-body and the block system, and you can do your 45-degree angles that way.
Interesting.
So,
One
see, what else?
thing neat about this one, too, that we talked about earlier, when we were talking about what clamp was it that went in reverse?
Well,
That's the one I have in my hand.
right there.
Oh, okay, all right, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead of things here.
No, okay. This is what we call the duo clamp, okay? Because
This is brand new, isn't it?
brand new, yeah.
Okay.
It's been out a very short time. You've got a full 4-finger trigger here, so you can squeeze that lever. The beauty is you can turn this little key here 180 degrees, and now it goes back the other way.
That's great.
So
Okay.
you can actually spread
You can
the
spread.
key pressure and start pressure from the inside out,
Right.
or reverse it and have a traditional clamp where the pressure is going from the outside in.
Right.
Correct.
There's not a lot of application for that, but I know, I can't think offhand, but I know that there's been times that I wished I had something that would force, especially if I screwed something up, put something together wrong, and rather than beating it apart with a hammer, you could put a clamp inside of it and just open it up and take your nails out.
Right. That's certainly one of the applications. We've got a deeper throat on this side and a shallower throat on this side. These pads, actually, you can reverse the pads and put them on the other side if you want protection on the spreading application. So it's very unique. It has a quick release trigger here, so as you squeeze this and it locks down, the way you release it is you simply pop this lever on the back. So it's real simple to use. Again, we're getting back to the one-handed concept so that you can hold something together.
You guys like to make one-handed stuff a
That's
lot.
right. Like I said, you know what we do with our other hand?
Something to do with the Germans, I guess.
I think so.
Now the question, when this has got a good load under it, and you only have one free hand, how easy is it to get that to release? Pretty simple?
Pretty simple.
Try it.
Pretty simple. Here, we'll give you an idea. Well, this is probably not a good application because you're going to ruin my
Well,
prop.
but wait a minute, Ken. You got to have your hand in your pocket when you've got you're using the one-handed. There's a purpose for the one-handed.
Right. Okay, so here, Ken, let's see. Let's see how strong you are. Squeeze that. Squeeze that down.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted.
And I'll take that big old clamp before you hurt yourself with it.
Well, I like this big clamp. I was going to
Yeah.
take it home. Okay, yeah, okay, I've got a lot of pressure on it. See, I flexed the bar up. Yeah, that released. I've used a lot of the inexpensive type clamps from the home center.
And they jam.
And you cannot get them to release. That is great. That is really good.
Right. And you'll notice even on that rail, it's profiled as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, question on this one here. I see the way it's built. Can this go on this way?
Absolutely.
And is it, I know it's not like the K-body, but is it fairly even in tension here and here?
Correct. Because you have pressure points on either side of the rail. So as long as you're
So you can
essentially
you can
going to
double the
be
width.
parallel clamping, but we don't build it as a parallel clamp, yes.
That's great.
Yes. What I want to show you with these clamps here, maybe I'll just switch around here because I can show it better on camera. A lot of times if you're clamping, say you need to get in the center somewhere, and you don't have a clamp that's deep enough. So what you want to do is you want to take something like your K-body, which I can work this darn thing, and what you do is you can
Come up a little bit.
yeah, you can span your workpiece. Okay. Now let's just say we want to clamp something down here in the center. Well, we've got these handy little spindle clamps, which actually you can slide in here.
I think we want to be up a little higher here, but I'm not sure. You got it
That's
over
good
here?
enough.
Okay.
Just
all
gotta-
right.
So what we're doing with these spindle clamps is they go on any of our rails, so it allows you to tighten down something in the
There's a lot
field
of
in the center.
applications for something like that.
Well, the single one actually has a little spindle on it here that we can tighten down and actually holds it in place. So again, if you've got to clamp something in the field, so these are just things as you're getting into your projects. Sometimes you don't know till you get into it that, oh my gosh, I gotta glue something here. How am I gonna hold that?
This is two-handed. That's
One-handed.
one-handed again. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can use two hands, but
Right. But if you have two guys in the shop, you can still have one guy on this one and this guy with his hand in his pocket.
right.
And there's a lot of guys that work in shops like that.
But this one actually.
What about not to change the subject, but I see an application here with sink bowls.
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
Where if you've got a double sink bowl, you could put one at the edge, one in the middle, and one here, and have these in all the corners, and just snug them up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could.
That's a perfect application. These are also used for edging. We talked about edging earlier.
Right.
If you don't have one of those fancy edge clamps, you can take your standard clamp, whatever it is, your tradesman series that you may have, okay, and you can bridge this on your edge. If this it's an oversized edge, but you can simply bridge this on the edge.
All right.
Okay, and then you take
Slide that in there.
this one or one of the other ones, and you simply just slide this in like so. Okay. Now the two-handed clamp, as Ken was talking about earlier, really is for the pros because it takes some hand-eye coordination to get both of the spindles at the same length at the same time.
This was not for you, Ken.
But
You'll have to stay with that one.
for seams, the one-handed one, that's better. But for, another great thing about something like this is even if you're doing a solid surface seam and you have something like this and you brought two sheets together, you could actually use this on either side on the same clamp and you could level out the sheet.
I could see that in an unusual application where it's going to be really difficult to reach the center, reach the seam. If you weren't using vacuum clamps or what have you, this would be a great application.
Yeah. Right. Now we're almost out of time, and I know you had that great staircase clamp. You want to cover that?
Yeah, this is another application when you've got an odd angle, and I'm sure you people have run into this before. Okay, and what we're looking at here is we're actually looking at a pad, a pressure pad with a neoprene foot on it that actually fits right on here. We're using the clamp to hold that in place. Okay, and then we have this knuckle, the simple knuckle here, that fits over the pad on our tradesman series clamp.
Ooh, that makes it a knucklehead.
And what it allows you to do,
So that'll hold the ball.
what it allows you to do is
we really have a sick sense of humor sometimes.
do a joining application like this.
Okay.
And you can actually go 180 degrees. You can actually do a butt joint with these because you lay these two on your two pieces and you bridge it with a clamp. You can actually do a butt joint with these.
Oh, okay.
So that's another application. This is what we call our irregular angle clamp. What else didn't we show yet here tonight?
Well, I think there's about another 12,680 some odd clamps we didn't even touch.
Exactly.
Yep, probably.
Something like that.
There's a lot of clamps here. I don't know if you guys can kind of pan all the clamps, but we covered a lot of clamps. And to be perfectly honest with you, we've been selling clamps for a long time, and I had no idea that all these neat little gadgets were available for these certain applications.
Yeah.
I know we have to talk about our code. We have 10% off on the entire Bessie line.
Any Bessie clamp.
And that's until next week, Monday. And the code on that to use at checkout is 120506. Again, that's 120506. Put that in at checkout, ordering any one of the Bessie clamps.
Is there a quantity limit on that?
No.
So this is a great
But
chance.
it's only a one-time. One time per customer.
Like that one woman who was starting a woodworking shop, if you're really serious about wanting to pick up these clamps, this is a chance to get 10% off those clamps.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, clamps are an expensive buy. I know when I had a shop, I had to put a lot of money into clamps.
Right.
But you might as well buy the good ones. Because
well, like anything else, you can get all the stuff at inexpensive places and what have you, but this is all good clamps.
Right.
We need to wrap it up, and we'd just like to say thanks for joining us, Tom.
I appreciate it very much. I just like to close with the comment saying you can never have enough clamps.
That's right. Very good. Thanks, folks, and we'll see you next week. And we're not sure what next week is out.
Oh, because it's
surprise
a special
week.
show. It's a surprise week.
I might be back. Who knows?
And just remember, why be normal?